again, friends. Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be putting together my journal for Junk Journal January, and I'm going to basically, it's a small journal because I figured as I go I may add pages to it. I just used a Reader's Digest book as my starter, and I have places that I can keep some collage papers in to use, so I don't have to go searching for things every time I want to start a new page. And let's go ahead and get this together so we can start Junk Journal January. All right, so here's what I'm starting with. I grabbed a bunch of fabric scraps that I thought I would use to put some of my pages together. The cover is going to be this Reader's Digest book that was gifted to me by my friend Michelle, who's Tape and Twine. And I thought it had the perfect size spine. I didn't want it to be, too big. I thought this would just be perfect for the month of junk journaling in January. And then there's also a couple pages that go with that. So these are just some saved pictures, and I love this Ex Libris. I think that would make a fun cover page for this. And then, different pictures and different things in here. So I'll probably use some of these, and I may put these together like with some of the fabric. So, stitching two pieces together using the fabric as the, to bind them together. So that's that. And then the rest of this is for the inside. So these are for the inside. I just grabbed out a bunch of things. I think that, there's 31 days in January. So 31 days to junk journal. I don't think I'm going to put that many pages in there, because I thought it would be fun to, create a page outside of the book and then, put it in later. So I'm going to bind in a couple pages, and then I'm going to sort of leave the rest up to my imagination when I get to those days. So I have this just scrap of manila folder, but I think this makes a great piece to, put, if I wanted to do some gesso, maybe some mixed media. It's nice and heavy to do that. I pulled out some other book pages from some other books that I have. So this is a child's encyclopedia book that has some great pictures in it. So I'm not sure how exactly I will use these, but I figured, having different starting points is always fun. So this is an old Sears catalog, a replication Sears catalog, and I have coffee dyed this, so I'll probably put some of that in there. I grabbed a piece of canvas fabric. I thought that might be fun to try and do something on. This is another one of my favorite books. I don't know if it says on here what it is, because of course the name is escaping me right now, but it has beautiful illustrations of botanicals in it. And so I thought I would use these for something in here as well. And then I have some old ledger paper that is sort of an offcut. These are really big ledger papers, but these are offcuts from something else I was working on. So I thought this might be fun to add into the mix. And then I pulled out a bunch of scrap music paper. I love having music paper in my journals. So maybe I'll piece some of these together in some way. And then I also just pulled this little craft envelope that had I think it had a stamp in it, and a little jelly print that I had tried to do. I have a whole bunch of these, jelly prints from all over the place. I thought that might make a fun little addition as well. So I'm going to just start putting these together to make my signature. And like I said, I'm probably going to do between, I don't know, I'm thinking around 10, because if I do 10 pages in there, and that's the full-size page folded in half, that really gives me 10 times 4, it gives me about 40 pages. So actually I might not, well, and if I do two pages a spread, so if I decide to, let me see where, I don't think I have one folded already. But if I have this folded, I may decide to do a spread for Junk Journal January on, two sides of the signature. So 10 times 2 would be about 20. So that's a little bit less. I think that might be perfect until I decide if I'm going to do one side, both sides, and then I can add pages, if I want to as well. All right, so now I'm just basically going to go through all of the papers that I picked out and kind of decide either how to pair them up, or, if I just want to fold them over to put them into the signature. So I decided to use the Ex Libris front page and the manila folder as the back of that one for one of the pages in the signature. And basically, I'm just going to go through and kind of do the same thing with everything. So these ledger papers, I thought I was going to kind of put them together with something else, but because of the fold in the middle, I thought it was kind of okay just by itself. So some of the pages in the signature will be, you know, kind of specifically put together with fabric and sewing and things like that, while other ones will just be folded into a signature as you would normally think of a signature. So I'm just going to kind of keep matching things up, and as I go about doing this, I will be putting as I put them together, I'm just going to kind of be looking at, okay, how do I want to attach them, whether it's, taping them together or putting them with fabric, which I end up doing for most of them. And then kind of for the last piece that I wanted to do, I really wanted to add some of those music pages in. And so I'm going to kind of Frankenstein a page together with those. So that encyclopedia page I put together by itself. I had that leftover ledger page at the bottom that I thought, you know what, maybe I can go ahead and put some of these music sheets on top of them to kind of make them into one page together. So that's what I'm kind of doing now, is just getting that set up so that I can sew them all together. All right, so now I'm taking any of the pages that I need to do something to actually put them together and figuring out what that might be. So my little Frankenstein page there, I decided to use a little strip of fabric to put that one together, and I decided to put it down the entire thing. So of course I'm just kind of tearing pieces off. And then for each one of the pairs of paper, I'm either picking a fabric to go along with them or kind of just figuring out how I'm going to end up putting them together. All right, so for most of these, I decided to sew the fabric to each side of the page to hold it together. So what I'm going to do before I sew anything is I am just going to kind of tack glue them down. So I like to take my glue stick and just put a little bit of glue stick on either side of the page to hold that fabric in place until I get it over to the sewing machine. Usually by the time I'm there, my glue is pretty dry. Once again, I don't put that much because I just want it to hold the fabric down so that I don't have to use pins or clips or anything like that. So that's basically what I'm doing. But for this one, I just wanted to mention, I did decide to use a little bit more glue on the envelope. After I tack glued it down here, I thought, you know what, I want to be able to use this little pouch, this little envelope, and so I don't want to sew on that side because that would take away some of the room in the pocket. So I kind of pull it up and then I use my Fabri-Tac to glue it down permanently so that it won't come up, but that I don't have to sew it. So on this one, I'm just going to sew the one side of the paper to the fabric there. And then the rest of them, I kind of just do the same thing. I'm tack gluing and holding everything down so that it'll be ready when I want to go to sew. All right, here are the pages that I came up with for my signature. So I kind of love the way they, this one I think is one of my favorites just because it's a cool Frankenstein page. I like that a lot. And then the other ones here, you know, are just fairly simple. But like I said, you know, this probably will be my outside cover. This one's cute, and I didn't sew on this side since it's an envelope so that I can still, you know, tuck something inside of here without taking up the space from the envelope. And this one has these triangle edges from the bias tape that I was using. And then let's see, and then this is the last one now. And then there are other pages here that are, you know, I didn't need to do anything to. So I have a lot of different variety, and now I'm just going to put them all together so that I have my signature ready to go. All right, and now this is just the fun process of going through all the different pages for the signature and finding an order for them, putting them together in a way that I want them sewn into the journal. So I'm just kind of picking pieces, trying to, you know, separate the ones that were connected by fabric and putting some plain folded paper in there, you know, every time I go. And then, of course, I realized this last one, when I put it in there, it stuck out way too much. So I decided to put it a little bit further back into the signature, and then it didn't stick out so much. And when I tested it inside the journal, I think it fit perfectly inside there. All right, now I'm getting ready to decorate the cover, and I decided to pick out a couple of digitals from my Atlas Mini Kit. And this is a freebie kit. If you would like to have this yourself, you can go to madpapercrush.com/Atlas freebie, all one word. And there's I don't even know how many pages it is, but there's a bunch of pages of ephemera, labels, note cards, different things, envelopes, I think. There's all kinds of different things in the little mini kit there that I have as a freebie, if you would like that as well. So I thought that this cover, with its kind of grayish blue design, also fit pretty well with my Atlas kit, the colors in that. So I decided to go ahead and use that. So now I'm just cutting. You can see this one, there was tags and labels and tabs on that page. I'm going to use one of the tags for my cover as well. So I'm just cutting that out, and then I'm just going to try to start figuring out how things might go together on the cover. And as I'm looking at it, I do decide that, you know, I think I need some fabric or some textiles on there. So I liked, you know, how this blue went over, but it was kind of got lost because of all of the patterns that were together. So I'm kind of doing some work on figuring it out, but I decide I need to get some fabric in there too. All right, I found some fabric that I think goes well with the cover here. And as I'm looking at it, my tag and the fabric are about the same size. So I decide that I'm going to kind of cut this tag down to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to use another template. I kind of cut off about an inch off the top of that tag. And I'm just going to use another tag to get my corners back on there and ready to go. So now you can see more of the fabric underneath, and that's really what I wanted, because I think there's a better contrast with that. I also have a little strip of blue fabric there that I'm going to use for my tag topper, and I decided to pull out my little ribbon punch and punch two kind of ribbon holes that I would use to put in the strip of blue fabric that I have in there to hold it onto the tag. And so now I just put an end through each of those two little holes, And I'm realizing that I didn't do any distress on the sides, and I always like to add some distress in there when I have cut paper on anything I'm working on. So I'm going to distress them quick, and then I'm just going to tie a little double knot on here with the ends that are kind of frayed and kind of grungy looking, and I like that a lot. All right, I'm deciding that I need even some more texture on here. So I grabbed some kind of frilly lace that I'm just going to glue onto the bottom somewhere. I'll try not to hide my little bird. All right, and now I'm just going to stamp my Junk Journal July on here using all of my capitals. I'm hoping I'm giving myself enough room because I didn't really measure anything, but I'm just going to put with my other small letters here, we're going to fill it out with Junk Journal January. All right, now that I have all of the pieces ready for my cover, I'm just going to glue everything down. So I am going to be using my Beacon 3-in-1 glue for most of this construction here, and I'm trying to generously put that on there for the fabric, and I'm spreading it out with my finger so that it doesn't show lines through the fabric. And I'm just spreading that on there, and I love this fabric. I think it looks really great. And then I will put the other pieces on. So because I didn't want to hide the bird, I'm trying to, when I glue the tag on, I'll be trying to glue it on kind of on the top of the fabric. But I also wanted the top, the blue sort of ripped fabric of the tag to kind of go above the top of the journal anyway. So that's why I kind of wanted to put that up towards the top. And then I will put on the rest of the pieces as well. All right, we're moving on to the inside covers, and I decided that I wanted to use one of the note cards in the Atlas Mini Kit as a little pocket. So I'm just adding on some gussets on the side to give it some room in there. I just cut some 1-inch pieces from another of the note cards in there, and I'm just putting them on the sides. I'll add a little short one to the bottom so that I have a nice gusset in there. It won't cover the entire bottom, but I'm okay with that. I'm not going to be putting itty bitty pieces of paper in there, so I'm not worried about the sides maybe not, you know, having little holes on the sides. Since I'm going to be putting bigger scraps of paper in there, probably I'm not too worried about anything falling out. So right now I'm just making that piece, getting that gusset ready. It's about a 1-inch strip that I fold in half, and I kind of miter the edges a little bit and then glue it down right to the bottom edge. And then once the glue is set on those 3 sides, I will glue on the other side of the gussets, just the 3 parts of the gussets there. You know, just glue 1, 2, 3, and then I will put that down as a pocket on the back there for me to add any collage items or anything I might need to add to Junk Journal January right there. All right, now it's time to get this signature sewn in. So I wanted to cover the spine a little bit since it was kind of naked there with the book block having been taken out. So I just grabbed another little strip of fabric that I figured I would add to the inside of the spine just to cover it up a little bit. And it also kind of pulls the cover fabric that we had together now on the inside as well. And then I had a template that I had punched some holes into the spine to sew the signature in. You can see the template over there on the right hand side, but I had used that to already make marks for my holes, and so I'm just going in now and making sure that the holes through the fabric are visible so that when I sew in the signature I can see where everything is supposed to go. So now I'm just going through my signature, making sure all of the pieces are where I want them lined up. You know, if there's shorter ones, do I want it in the middle, above, you know, kind of low, all that kind of stuff. Just making sure the signature is right where it needs to be. And then I am adding my giant paper clips to hold everything together. And I realized when I did this, it didn't seem like all of the middles were holding together very well. So as I was kind of putting my template in there, it seemed like the middle of the signature was very spread apart. So I took everything off, and I just wanted to get it set back into itself so that everything was folded very close together. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. And then I just added 2 paper clips back on in the hopes that, you know, maybe it was just too tight and that's why it was kind of pulling apart. So now I'm using the template again to punch the holes into the signature itself, and then these holes will match up with the holes in the cover for me to sew it together. Now I'm just picking out some thread that I want to use for sewing, and I did a 3-hole, I'm doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, which you've probably seen me do many times. I am using a nylon cord, and this nylon cord is very slippery. So I always, for my nylon cord, I like to use beeswax to kind of make it a little less slippery. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just pulling it through a block of beeswax to make it a little bit more grabby than it would be if it didn't do that. And I'm threading my giant needle, and I'm going to start in the middle inside hole, and we're going to go through there, and then we're going to go up to the top hole, come back through the outside to inside. And now here I realized I couldn't see the hole that I had made for the top hole, so I just went back in to push my needle through and see where exactly it went so that I could get it through. And then we're going to skip down the middle hole and go to the bottom hole, and we're going to push through both the signature and the spine for this one. And then the last stitch goes back in through the middle hole from outside of the journal to the inside of the signature. And I had a little bit of trouble getting this one in here as well, but it did finally come together. And then I like to put the ends, one end on either side of that string in the middle. And before I tie anything, I always make sure everything is nice and secure. So I like to close my signature and make sure I've pulled everything taut from front to back. Make sure my stitches on the outside are nice and secure as well. And then I can take off my paper clips and my signature is all sewn in. So I'm really liking the way this looks, and I'm just kind of doing a flip through to make sure everything seemed to catch and is ready to go. And then I kind of decided that I wanted to add some more items in here. All right, so I'm just going through some of my scraps again, and I'm pulling out some papers, some pictures, some different things that I think I might end up using in my Junk Journal January. So I have some jelly prints here that were fun that I thought maybe I would just, you know, keep them in the journal as well, so I don't have to go looking for things. So I'm just kind of making a little stack of a bunch of different papers that I think I might use, and they'll be right there ready to go. I won't have to worry about them. And then I just have a little brass clip that I'm clipping them in, and they will be right there ready for me. And the last thing I'm doing to the journal here is adding some fabric to the spine. I thought the spine looked really plain, especially with all of the fabric and decoration that I had done on the front. So I'm adding this little strip of blue fabric to the spine to cover up the stitches on the spine, but to also just kind of add some cohesiveness between the spine and the front cover. So I had already done a little bit on the front there, but I realized the camera was off, so now I'm just finishing up the cover, the front cover, making sure most of the fabric is stuck down good. All right, here it is, all ready to go. And you can see I decided to keep some of the collage papers that I may use for Junk Journal January right here in the beginning. And I have lots of pages, but there's also plenty of room to add to this if I want to. So I have lots of great starting pages, bigger pages, smaller pages, which I think will help me stay motivated throughout the entire time. And plus a little pocket in the back where I can maybe put some schniblets of things that I might want to use when I get there as well. So thanks so much for watching. I hope that you're going to join us. I will put the link down below if you'd like to sign up and jump into Junk Journal January, and I will see you in January. Bye-bye.